In this video tutorial, I will explain what form and grid styles are and how to use them effectively in AwareIM. First of all, what are form and grid styles and why are they needed? When you create a form or a query represented by a grid, there are a number of default settings that AwareIM applies to the query or form. Let's create a simple business object and look at the default form of this object. I will create a couple of test attributes. Three attributes of different types will do. AwareIM creates the default form of this object automatically. This is the form. Let's use the preview to look at this form. First of all, we see that the default form occupies the entire width of the screen. We can see that it has a standard header that displays the caption of the form, the icon, and some default operations in the toolbar. The width of the label column is fixed at 90 pixels. Let's now create a query that looks for all instances of this object. Let's look at the preview of this query. Again, we can see that the query occupies the full width of the screen. It uses the standard header with the caption, icon, and some default operations. Each attribute displayed by the query has the associated filter. A grid has paging bar, and there are no operations with items. I can easily change these default settings. For example, I can remove the header of the form or query and remove some or all default operations. However, if I want most or all of my forms and queries not to have a header, for example, then I would need to do it every single time, for every new query or form. This can become quite tedious. This is where styles can help. Styles allow me to specify all the default settings that I want to use for a query or form, and then use them for new queries or forms instead of the default factory settings. I can also assign a name for a style and then use a particular style when creating a form or a query. This is quite similar to the concept of styles in Microsoft Word, for example. So let's see how we can define a style and then use it for a new form or query. To do this, we select the Manage Styles command from the Edit menu. Here we can select either the grid style for queries or form style for forms. Let's start with grid styles. Let's say that we want the query to automatically have edit and delete operations with items, no filters, and no icon in the header. So we will create a new style, give it a name, provide some description, and then add two item operations, untick filters, and specify no icon in the panel header. The style that is used for new queries and forms is displayed in these two drop-downs here. We can define several styles and then select the style we want. Here I can see that the new grid style that I have defined has been automatically set as the current style. If I create a new query now, we can see that it has two item operations, no icon in the header, and no filters. Let's now create a form style. It will have width of 800 pixels. It will be center aligned. Buttons will be right aligned. And the default label width will be 70 pixels. All attributes will have width of 300 pixels. Also, all numbers will have spin boxes, and yes/no attributes will be represented as switches. We will also define save and close operations for the form. Let's see now what happens when we create a new form. As you can see, it is center aligned, 800 pixels wide, buttons are displayed on the right, label column width is 70 pixels, and all attributes are 300 pixels wide. Number attributes are displayed with spin boxes, and yes/no attributes are switches. If you already have an existing form or query, you can apply a particular style to this form or query. Let's apply the styles we have created to some query and form in the CRM sample application. Let's go to the form of the appointment object. This is how the original form looks like. Let's now apply a style to this form. We do it from the burger menu of the form. This is how the form looks like now. So you can see the original and the form after applying a style. And now let's go to the all staff members query. This is how it looks originally. There is no header and there are some default operations at the top of the query. Let's now apply a style. And this is how the query looks now. We can see the header now and the default operations are gone. So this is the original, and this is after applying the style.